Hey guys. All right. So this is the next part of the tutorial, and as you can tell by the render, I actually finished it. And you guys are probably going to be wondering, well, why the hell didn't he show us how to finish it? And I'm going to tell you why, and I'm going to explain a few other things. First off, I want to say I've gone ahead and added extra detail that would have been really tedious for you guys to watch. So let me get my mouse here. I kind of put like this radiator thing here. There's some pipes going up along the wall. There's a drainage spout. And I think that if you've been following my tutorials already, you're going to already know how to do that stuff. And that's stuff that I didn't want to take up time in my video. I just didn't want to do that. Also, once I think in the last tutorial, I added one texture here on the bricks, and I added another texture here on the ground. And that is the same technique I used for all of the other objects here. I just may have changed around the normal, how strong it is, or I may have changed around with some of the specular hardness settings, that kind of stuff. I put like specular maps on certain things, but I either thought some stuff was not necessary for you guys to know yet. I'm probably going to make more in-depth tutorials on certain topics, and then there was things that they just took up too much time that there'd be no point in doing them. Things that I do want to cover, however, in this tutorial is compositing. And compositing is something that a lot of new Blender users take a look at and go, holy crap, this is something that I'm never going to be able to, really get a hang of. But I assure you that if you actually spend even a little bit of time with it, you're going to start catching on really quickly, and it actually improves the quality of your work a lot. And so we're going to take a look at the compositing side of things. And I'm going to teach you how to set all this stuff up so you can get cool effects on the camera, and how you can get this nice little blur feature here. So that'll all be explained right now. So if we go back into Blender, here's our scene. This is the 3D model of it. You guys all know how it works. So first of all, we can't just go into the compositor with this picture just sitting here, because first of all, it wouldn't know where to add the blur. If I just added the blur and all the effects, it would add it on the whole thing here, and it would look very, very unrealistic. So what I did, I selected this, and that light, the white part over there, not the light, but I can't even select it, but you know what I mean. I selected this white part here. And if we go up to the top and we go into render layers, I made two layers. One is called main scene, and main scene basically has everything without those white things. It has all of the mesh and everything else. And then the second layer just has those two white things. Okay, and the reason why I did that is to just separate them so I can use these separate layers and then blend them together to get the final result. And all that you need to do is make a new render layer is basically click the plus sign, and you're going to get a new bar. You can just call it whatever you want. To move something to a new layer, you just push M on your keyboard with it selected and select the layer that you want it to go to. Since I wanted my lights on a separate layer, I made a new layer, and I moved both of my lights, pushed M, and moved them to this layer right here, layer 2. And now I have them separately. If I hold shift, I can select both layers so I can still use it when I'm working on my stuff. So now that you have the two render layers, and by the way, make sure that sky is turned off, otherwise you're going to blur the sky. So make sure that that's turned off unless you're intentionally doing so. Just a heads up. So now that we have our two separate render layers, what we need to do is we need to go over here, and we're going to click the node editor. By default, it'll be over here, but just click the composite node and click use nodes. And now what you're going to start out with seeing is this one node right here. You can right click it and you can shift D it and see where it says main scene here. If you click that, you can choose between lights and main scene, the two render layers that you've made. So I have my main scene, and we're not going to talk about this part here because I like to do that later. We're going to talk about the light. So this is our light layer, and by default, this is like what it should be this alpha map background. but it should have your lights in it. It should have what you want to put the glow effect on in it. Okay, so the very first thing I did, I pushed Shift A, and that is just like in the Blender user, and it adds something. I made a blur node, and I set it to fast Gaussian, which is really nice for doing like fog effects or like overblown effects. It's really nice. And I set the values of it, the size, very small, because this is just the sharp glow, the very intense part from the light. This isn't the foggy glow around it. And all that I did was connected the image to image. It's very simple. And then since I wanted to change around the strength of that and the color, this is strength right here, the C, and I move this dot around, and the closer it gets to this side, it's stronger and a lot bigger. And when I go to this side, it's obviously almost like really dark in the negatives, and it's quite not as strong. We're not going to talk about that node yet. Now, if we go below it, I took another string from our original lights layer, and I brought it down to the made a glare node. I set it to fog glow because it's, once again, a nice glow that I like to use for these kind of lights. I turned the threshold all the way down, which is important, otherwise it won't show up. I don't know why that is, but it just is. I added just a slight blue tint to it just to kind of change it up from just being pure white, because that would look kind of boring. And the color, I changed the size here, made it stronger, and now you have to mix those two layers together. It's almost like if you've used GIMP or Photoshop, you're blending the two layers together. So when I pushed Shift A, went to color, and added a mix. Now, because we're dealing with lights here and glows, what you need to use when you are doing glows on lights or something like that, you need to use screen. So if you go here, you can look through, and you need to click screen because that's going to make it look proper. So that's what I did to get the glow on the lights. If we go up here, default without this, it looked kind of still very computer generated. I wanted it to kind of have different tones to it that I just really couldn't do with textures or lighting. And what this is called, it's called a color balance node, but the real technical term for it is called color grading, and that basically changes around the hues and the pitches in your scene to kind of give it a more to kind of give it a different feeling, a different kind of look to it. And this is really important when you're doing scenes because it actually changes around your scene a lot. And I noticed that if it's when you mess up here, it really shows. This is the part where if it looks bad, this is, you can tell because you're like, what the heck? Your scene looks as green as, I don't know, like an apple or something. But you have to really play along with these lightly, otherwise you're gonna mess up your scene. So if you take your main scene, you connect it to a color balance node, which I think is in color. If I just push Shift A here. Oh, my computer's being a little goofy, whatever. Yeah, color and color balance. You just click one and add it, connect image to image, not very hard. And keep this setting general. And here's a cool thing. If you want to know what it looks like without having to render it each time, there's a really simple way to do that. All you got to do is push Shift A, Output, and Viewer. And now you can see in the background, you can see what it looks like. So I connected all these. I kind of changed around the pitches. I made like this one part here. It was just a little bit yellow. Just give it some warmth. Then I kind of kept it in the middle for that. But then this one, I wanted it to feel a little bit cooler. So I changed around with that. And yeah, that's what I did. And then to connect your screen mix and your normal mix of colors for your scene, I just added a normal mix node, kept it as mix, and from there I added it to the default end little node, which is where all of your stuff eventually is going to have to connect together and come out there. So that is basically how I did the node work for the scene. I hope that this helped people who are new to nodes, because it is a great skill to pick up on for 3D art. And that's it. That's how I did the whole scene. If you have any questions or comments about what you saw, please let me know. I would love to help you guys out. there's any questions, if you want me to talk about how I did certain things in the scene that you're just not sure about yet, just let me know. So that's it for the tutorial. I have a quick announcement. I got contacted by someone who has a YouTube channel. His name's Wes, and he asked me to do a space theme. He was talking about how he was trying to do some planet renders, and I guess they just weren't turning out well for him, or he was trying to get a really atmospheric look to them instead of, flat and whatever. So he wanted to know some ideas about that. So I'm going to try to tackle that. To be honest, I've never tried something that before like that. I think it'll be a great challenge, but I'm probably not going to be able to make a tutorial about that for at least 2 weeks because I'm really going to want to play around with it. I've already sat around for close to 5 or 6 hours just trying to get like the basic feel for everything down. But it's coming along pretty well. I think I should be able to start piecing it together pretty soon. So that is update for the future. That is a lesson for now, and I hope that you guys have learned something. So I will see you guys later with another tutorial. All right, bye.